Now, a Hutch's weather update with meteorologist Hutch Johnson.
And hello, everybody. I'm meteorologist Hutch Johnson. A lot of weather changes going on after a full bucket of awesome sauce on this wonderful Wednesday, and temperatures that kissed 50 degrees, hit 50 degrees for some. Well, they're going to change. We have a Canadian air mass that's going to head its way down. It's actually called a Canadian or continental polar air mass. That's going to bring some cooler air away. We'll talk about that. But the northern lights really have everyone's attention. It's beautiful to see, but there's a very good chance we're going to talk about that. We're going to look at clouds, and we're going to get started right now. First and foremost, our weather today was delightful. Morning temperatures were pretty nice, and our springboard for starting our day, not too bad. Mid-20s for most of the region. A few of us were the T's on this day. As we started the day in the mid-20s, it didn't take long to get into the mid-40s, and it was a wonderful day at that. Here's what you can expect by morning. Let's get right to that, shall we? First and foremost, we're going to have some crisp temperatures. The skies are clear, and the wind is calm. Perfect conditions for rapid cooling. Only thing that would make it faster would be some snowpack on the ground. Here's a look at the temperatures in the morning around the region. Coolest out near Lake Sakakawea, where we'll have some of these whiter areas here, the teens. Here in the Red River Valley, we're going to have our usual cool spots in low places from time to time. But your morning temperature to start your day in Bemidji, 28 degrees, 22 degrees first thing in the morning. And this is a snapshot at 6 o'clock. So if you're heading out the door at 7, it'll be a degree or two warmer with any luck at all. How about 29 to start your day in Grand Forks, and temperatures that will be generally in the low to mid 20s region-wide. Fairly uniform temperatures for our area. So what does that mean for the FM area to start our day? Well, let's talk about that. I'm expecting us to start out at about 23 degrees. Our wind throughout the morning hours will be southwesterly 5 miles per hour, increasing to 20 miles per hour at times. Your record low 24 degrees below zero, and it looks like a 15 average low temperature for this time of the year. All in all, things are looking pretty good across our area to start the day. So that's a look at our morning planner there. Now let's talk about what you can expect the afternoon temperatures to be like. We are going to have a wind that's from the northwest, and that's a cold front. And that cold front is going to bring that continental polar, not Arctic, but polar air our way. See the blue colors? That's where things will be a bit on the cooler side. And that will be in that lake, Devil's Lake Basin up there, low 30s there. Jamestown in the James River Valley, that includes you folks in Carrington, New Rockford. If you're in Macville, you'll have a chance for being a little bit cooler. And afternoon temperatures that will just make it to near freezing. The warm bubble, if you will be in southeast North Dakota. Temperatures in the mid 30s there. Babe the Blue Ox, 31 degrees. International Falls at 27. And Warroad, Minnesota, clocking in at 28. A summary of your forecast for Fargo looks like this as we go through your afternoon. 35 degrees. Average high is 31, so we're above average. Notice our averages are dipping down now, where your average high is 31. Below freezing. So our forecasts this time of year typically have weather in which we will be below freezing on many of the days and stay there all day. Record high 52 degrees tomorrow. And we weren't far from that in some places today, folks. Hey, tomorrow it does look like there'll be a chance for some Canadian flakes, some passing clouds in the north that could impact that viewing of the northern lights, right? So we'll talk about that. But first, here's a sneak peek at that 7-day planner as we go through the next few days. Cooler, no 50s around here on Thursday. We're down to 36. It'll be a breezy day, as we talked about with the Canadian flakes, right? Then after that, Friday, seasonable, but cool, below average. But an average kind of day, but below what we've been, I should say. Saturday and Sunday, a warming trend, and I can't rule out a passing flurry on Sunday. It doesn't look like a big deal. Monday will be our best chance of some snow. There could be some accumulation, and it, yes, could come with some wind as well. It looks like a midday to evening time frame. It could impact the evening drive on your Monday. I'll keep you posted on that. Then things clear out nicely on Tuesday, and we warm up. We start a warming trend a day earlier than I was anticipating, and it looks breezy but beautiful on Wednesday. And this is just a starting guesstimate on my part. I'm going to be totally honest. The 43 might be higher. It might be higher once again. Okay, now let's talk about northern lights. Let's talk about what they are. Number one, when the northern lights happen, we have a possibility to predict them because The sun, which is a long, long, long ways away, can have geomagnetic storms on them, and we get those solar storms happening, those little sunspots that burst. And if one is directed towards Earth, that can send our way what's called a coronal mass ejection, or a solar wind. And that solar wind rides through space and heads towards Earth. And as it gets close to Earth, it begins to interact with the Earth's geomagnetic poles. And what happens there is our ionosphere is filled with ions, and the solar wind can interact with those ionized gases aloft. And if we get an electron in one of these gases that gets excited, it'll sometimes jump from one electron orbit to another. That causes light to be emitted by these gases in the atmosphere. The different light colors we see are from different gases, and the amount of energy sent from the sun can really dictate how much of that energy gets released in the form of light. What a cool display they are. Let's talk about that forecast now for those northern lights. And it's pretty fun. It's pretty incredible. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at that right now. Okay, let me pop up the right graphic for you. Number one, this is what we're looking at with regards to the northern lights for tonight. There's a chance tonight. I didn't see them right now, but I'm in the city lights and they're a little bit difficult to see. I want to point out the left side, the probability of seeing the northern lights at high latitudes will be anywhere from active or minor, and there is just a chance that we could have some areas at high latitudes that get up to the severe level. That's at high latitudes. We live in the mid latitudes, but right at the zone where we get up toward the high latitudes. So our chance here for active lights in the Fargo area, and the chances increase to see northern lights the farther north we go. So if you're near the international border, that's where the best chance will be tonight, but we may see them here even. So pay attention if you're out in the dark hours and look to the northern sky, and it's best to get away from the city lights. We'll talk more about that in a second. Now look over here. Thursday, the top line. Friday, the middle line. Saturday's forecast is the bottom line. This is something called the KP index. And when the KP index reaches 3 to 4, we could have some solar activity creating northern lights and the aurora. And when that happens, it can be intermittent, it could be hit and miss. It's a gamble to go out and look at the northern lights on some occasions, but still worthwhile in my opinion. Now, on Thursday, there is a chance that we could see some KP indices rising upwards of the level 5, which is pretty good. And then on Friday, it says it could be as high as 7. Well, let me time this out for you. I want to show you that the best chance may indeed be, and likely will be, as we go through the day, tomorrow night. Now, that doesn't mean don't go tonight. We still should see some good northern lights, but this graph here will help illustrate for you the times. Now, the red line that you see here on the left, that's now. The red dots here show a KP index that is in the solar storm category, a minor solar storm category. That's a 5. So there's a chance of seeing the northern lights tonight. If you get out and see them, snap a picture and send them to Hutch. You have my email account right here. You can email me to hutch.johnson11@gmail.com or hjohnson1@hotmail.com. If you didn't catch that, when this is over, pause it, go back to this point in the video. You can get my email. Maybe I'll leave it in the comments for you too. Now, through the daylight hours tomorrow, by the way, this is peaking now, and we have the opportunity to see the northern lights right into the morning hours, and then by 6 a.m. it starts going down, and it's down throughout the day, and then we start ramping up tomorrow night, and it really rises here. Do you see this 7? That's pretty high, folks. The chances of northern lights increase, and actually the chances of the colors increase, and actually the chances at seeing these at mid-latitudes increase greatly. So we might hear of people who don't get to see the northern lights as often as we do in states like, say, Colorado, or maybe even Missouri, see the northern lights as we go through your night, Thursday night into Friday morning. Now, as we get into the 6 o'clock hour, it's still going to be as strong as it is today, according to this particular forecast. So keep that in mind. Tomorrow will bring a better chance at a stronger display, but the clouds, right? We got to look at the clouds. And we could even see a little bit of northern light activity as we go from Friday night and into Saturday. That's there. So for the next couple of days, as we talked about, there's that chance. I'm going to go over some viewing tips for you first, and then we'll get to that cloud forecast. And it's really important that you know what that is. We're going to look at two models here. Number one, get away from the city lights, any light pollution at all. And because you're looking north toward the northern horizon, you want to make sure that you maybe put the city to your south, right? So when you look to the north, there's not a city glow in front of you. Try to keep the city lights to your north at a minimum. So I like to head north of the FM area. This shot here was Hutch taking the old jalopy out. My car, a couple of years ago on an October night, it was crisp, it was cold, and the forecast for an aurora was there. And there was nothing when I got there. But, you know, you bring a bucket of popcorn, you stand outside, you go inside the car and warm up a little bit. You be patient. And I had a chance to see one of the more spectacular displays that I had seen ever, and I got some real fun pictures. So again, get away from the city lights, look to the north, usually low on the horizon. It usually shows up as this emerald green shade, but boy, when we have a stronger storm like we could tomorrow, then those shades can really become a little bit of everything, some yellows, some oranges, and all kinds of fun things like Steves. Look up what Steves are when it comes to the northern lights. All right, now let's talk about this cloud forecast. For that, I'm going to load up a couple of models. We're going to look at those together real quickly here to diagnose our chances of seeing the northern lights tonight with regards to clouds and tomorrow. Here we go. Let's pull up the right screen so you can follow along. This computer model is an American model. It does a pretty good job. I'll tell you why I like it. Number one, this model here is starting out good. And it's good when a model starts out with the right conditions. Let's take a look at the newer model here. Okay, now, so we call this the initialization of the model. It's pretty good. This matches pretty well with where the clouds are. Let me go ahead and make sure that you realize that where we see the blue colors here, there's a scale at the bottom. I'll put this up. The scale at the bottom, when we start seeing the bright blues, that's almost 100% chance at seeing some cloud cover here, or 100% of the area covered with clouds. So keep that in mind. So we're watching for the blue areas here for the clouds. Now, the time frame here is midnight tonight. Most of us clear tonight. Our viewing chances are not going to be impacted by clouds in too many areas. The best chance at having cloud problems is going to be near the international border as we go through the overnight hours. And here's a look at daybreak and around the 6 a.m. time frame. So the clouds do increase. We go through the daylight hours tomorrow and we'll see clouds moving through. Here's why I like this model. Do you see these clouds moving from north and pushing southward? That is the cold front. That is timed right and it looks right with the cold air diving out of Canada on this Canadian air mass. It's a continental polar air mass. And these tend to be dry and colder air masses cause a kind of a sinking of the atmosphere behind the cold front. So I do think we'll have some patchy clearing. Here is the evening and the overnight hours. So this is Thursday evening. Notice good viewing potential on this model in North Dakota with clouds in Minnesota here and there. But as we go through, those clouds drift. So there will be a chance, according to this, overnight for most of our area to at least see some of the northern lights. But clouds will be a factor. Tune in tomorrow. Let's check model number 2. This is a higher resolution model, okay? And I'm going to go to the latest one on this one. Let's go to the longer range, and here we go. This model is more adept at catching minor or small scale atmospheric motions. Okay, and those minor or lower scale atmospheric motions can show up a little bit more in the way of clouds. So tonight, this model agrees it's going to be clear. So it initiates pretty good, except for near the international border. This time frame right here, you're looking at Thursday morning. So the clouds start moving in, timed with the cold front right here, moving south. And just watch it dive south with the cold air. This model, though, says, oh no, by golly. Here's your evening forecast for Thursday. Clouds everywhere. The best chance at seeing it might be in Lakes Country in southern Minnesota and maybe the Southern Valley. And this is evening at sunset. And then after that, it's hit and miss at best, right? More clouds than not across North Dakota. It looks completely different. Now, I'll tell you what, I like the first model better. I think we're going to have more breaks in the clouds when this cold air mass moves in. We get that cold air mass that's denser. The atmosphere sinks a little bit. Sinking is not good for clouds, so clouds tend to evaporate. That's why Hutch likes that second model, and I hope it works out that way, and I will keep you updated right here. So that's a look at your northern lights forecast for here in the northern plains. That's a look at the forecast for clouds in our region for these northern lights, and we've got you caught up and updated. Thanks for following my page here and subscribing to Hutch's Weather, and I invite you to let friends know that Hutch isn't retired. There's a lot of people I run into that say, hey, Hutch is retired. Now, I'll have an update on this for your date tomorrow. We'll get you updated on that aurora forecast. We'll look a little bit closer at that cloud forecast. And Monday brings a decent chance of snow, so we'll look closer at that as well as we get into your forecast for tomorrow. Thank you so very much for all of your feedback that you've been giving me. I appreciate each and every one of you for following me, and I'll be back a little bit later. That's a look at your weather. Have a wonderful night.